for their brain tumors. Because millions of Americans use these phones regularly, we're talking only about the models that have the antenna in the receivers. ABC's medical editor, Dr. Timothy Johnson, spent the past few days checking out some of the claims on both sides. And tonight, he files what we hope is a helpful report on what he found out.
Hello, Sam.
Are there any messages?
I just got off the phone with Tim Goodell.
With an antenna at your ear, you can take your phone almost anywhere. Cellular phone technology has given millions of Americans the freedom to talk where and when they please. And there are about 7,000 new users every day. But last week, they heard some alarming news.
First, they were status symbols. Today, they're facts of life. And now some say cellular phones can kill you.
This latest scare began when David Reynard of Tampa, Florida, appeared on The Larry King Show, raising the possibility that his wife died from brain cancer because of her cellular phone. 3 days ago, we met with David, who began by describing how he gave his wife a cellular phone when she became pregnant in 1988. 2 years later, she was diagnosed with a brain tumor.
I think the first thing that hit me was the location of the tumor. It was located right here. I couldn't help but notice that the tumor was actually right where the antenna was normally in place or in use when she made calls.
We also interviewed 2 other brain cancer victims from Naples, Florida, and their doctor. In both of these men, the tumors are next to where they typically place their phones. Bill Pogue was diagnosed last June and is receiving radiation and chemotherapy. One of the things that now upsets him is the warning in the instruction book for his cellular phone.
When the phone is in use, avoid direct contact with the phone antenna and/or direct exposure to the radio frequency energy radiated from the antenna at high radiation periods.
What are we talking about? Am I going to turn on the phone and throw it across the room and scream at it?
28-year-old Matt Christ is also angry. His tumor was diagnosed just 2 months ago.
As you can see, it's very close to where the antenna is.
Matt believes that the cellular phone companies do not adequately test their products, and his doctor, David Perlmutter, agrees.
I think what we are trying to say here is that a product may be dangerous and needs to go through the same sort of research that the FDA requires of a new drug which is allowed to be sold to the public.
The concern about portable cellular phones is that they generate electromagnetic energy in the area of the antenna while they receive or transmit radio-type waves. And when you hold the phone close to the head, it's a particular concern. Now, phones in the car are of less concern because the antenna is outside, away from people. And cordless phones in the home have very low power because they're so close to the base transmitter in the home.
Dr. Louis Slesson is the publisher of Microwave News and a persistent critic of companies that make products like cellular phones.
This is an industry with a capital investment of $10 billion. Approximately 10 million people use cellular phones, and thousands of new subscribers are signing up every day. The industry needs to show that they are safe, and saying it doesn't make it so.
But that's exactly what the industry is doing, saying that cellular phones are not dangerous and that they have thousands of studies to prove it.
The facts are simply this: cellular phones are safe. 40 years of research and more than 10,000 studies have proved that cellular phones are safe.
But Dr. Slesson says the studies are not the right kind.
What they have is thousands of studies about the wrong things. They have thousands of studies about short-term, high-power exposures. That's when you zap an animal and see what happens to it. The real question is, what happens if you give the animal a little bit over long periods of time? Will there be an effect?
However, others stress that it is standard procedure to do screening studies with high doses for short terms. If such studies show no danger, it is unlikely there will be bad effects from lower doses over a longer period of time. During this past week, everyone we talked to cited the current research of Dr. Stephen Cleary at the Medical College of Virginia. He is testing the effects of radiation on individual cells, and some critics of cellular phones say his work shows potential danger from cellular radiation. But Dr. Cleary himself refuses to jump to any conclusion, and he is very cautious.
A lot of people's minds, the question is, if I use a cellular phone, will I get cancer, brain cancer, or other cancer? And I think the answer to that is they're probably not, although, again, I can't say definitively.
Finally, what about the question of an increase in brain cancers in this country? According to the American Cancer Society, there has been a slow increase in brain cancer for people under age 65 from 1973 to 1989, the last year for which figures are available. Specifically, in 1973, the incidence was 5 cases per 100,000 Americans. By 1989, it was 6 cases per 100,000. However, there could be a lag time in any increase caused by more recent problems.
Colleen, I need you to look at this.
Dr. Christian Storm, a cancer surgeon from the University of Wisconsin, makes another point, that there has been no change in the pattern of location of brain tumors.
If these phones caused a brain cancer has been allocated, it should occur behind the ear on one side or behind the ear on the other side. The locations of the brain tumors continue to be random throughout the brain.
It is understandable that victims of brain cancer want an explanation. But experts say that because both brain tumors and cellular phones are common, it is entirely possible that these alleged links between the two are simply coincidence instead of cause and effect.
Well, as you can see, Tim is with us.
Panel of scientists to look into this issue, look at old studies, probably do some new investigation. I think it would be helpful.
Tim, if there's no danger, why the warning on the phones?
Well, we called the companies today and asked them precisely that question, and they sort of backpedaled. They said, well, you know, our lawyers want us to do this. They said it has nothing to do with brain cancer. We're worried about the thermal effects maybe on the eyes. I suspect they're trying to play it safe, and it's fairly standard to put in that kind of a warning.
Is anybody going to try to find out if there's a higher percentage, a higher incidence of brain tumors among the population of people who use these phones?
Well, that
isn't known yet.
That would be an ideal study, an epidemiological study, but it takes a long time to get those answers. I suspect that's one of the things that will happen, but it'll be years before we have answers.
Okay. Do you have a cellular phone?
I knew this was coming.
Yeah. And will you continue to use it with the same frequency?
I have a car phone, not a cellular phone. If I had one, I wouldn't hesitate to use it occasionally, intermittently. I think I would avoid...
Wait. Occasionally, intermittently?
Yeah, I wouldn't use it for hours on end until we get better answers.
I wouldn't hesitate a second to use it all the time.
I'm hesitating.
You're in the middle, literally.
I'm hesitating. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back, yeah.